Hey guys, I'm back with a contest entry for Todd E. Walnuts. Todd's a great guy, class act, great videos, and unfortunately, he seems to have similar tastes in film that I do, so he's cost me a little bit of money. I hope I've returned the favor in some of my videos in terms of hitting his pocketbook, but it's all good. I enjoy his videos quite a bit. So, contest entry is focused on 3 questions about independent filmmaking. Independent filmmaking, to me, is a little bit of an oxymoron. I don't know that you can truly define it. I mean, I think the common description is that it's a filmmaker or director that does a film outside of the normal Hollywood studio venue. And that's the definition I guess we'll go with. But it's the lines are very blurred, particularly today with regard to that definition. I have 2 suggestions. One is, in my opinion, the greatest director of all time. And correspondingly, he's also the greatest independent director of all time. In my humble opinion, that is Rainer Fassbinder, who made over 40-some movies in 15 years. And his flame burnt out very, very quickly at 37. He died. He lived life hard and fast, and he made 4 films on average a year. And he put a lot of himself into those films, and he did it outside of the normal studio settings in Germany. In fact, he was persecuted and run out of Germany in a lot of respects because of his views, his political views, his lifestyle, the messaging within his movies, those type of things. He's just a off-center kind of guy that is kind of a fascinating watch. His movies are really melodramas, which is not, 70% of my collection is horror. So for him to be in my collection is an outlier. But he gets there because he's so interesting. And his films are very interesting. His take on life and his take on culture and society in general is, for me, it's very interesting to see a non-vanilla, non-by-the-book director who is obviously well-geared and understands those type of things. I mean, he's a fan of Douglas Sirk and Jean-Luc Godard. He obviously knows the by-the-book filmmaking and is an admirer of those films, but he's got his own slant on things, and I really admire that. I like people that take a book of knowledge and then use it to make films that are exceptions to the rule. So with that, I would have to give Rainer Fassbinder the nod on the greatest director and the greatest independent director of all time. My favorite, I have so many favorites of Fassbinder's films. I'll give you a couple. The first is the epic Berlin Alexanderplatz. This is a Criterion collection. This is a over 10, 15-hour movie that the only film I know that actually covers the book, a book, literally page by page, scene by scene, with no variance. Rainer's intent for years, he was fascinated by Berlin Alexanderplatz book, and he wanted to make a film that respected the material and did it in a way that without any variance. And it took a long time to find a way to fund an epic film like this, but he got it done, and it's a fascinating film, fascinating book about Germany post World War II, and a lot of his thoughts and ideas about culture, society, economics, all those things are embedded in this film, and it's a fascinating watch. So I would go with Berlin Alexanderplatz. as an honorable mention for those horror fans out there, he did some horror films. Tenderness of the Wolves, one unbelievable serial killer film. But I want to recommend, if you're kind of getting into this, the Fassbender thing, try this one. Why Does Hair R Run Amok? This one is classic Fassbender. It's a melodrama that goes real bad at the end. It's a character study. It's a social commentary, and it's got the classic Fassbender wheels. The proverbial wheels come off the bus of this guy's life at the very end. In a lot of his films, that it's kind of a glass is half empty kind of approach to the world we live in, and this is no exception. So that's Why Does Hair R Run Amok? I'd recommend that one. And then one final teaser of Fassbender's is The Bitter Tears of Petra Van Zandt. For those techies and out there filmmaking techies, this film was shot all in one shot for 90 minutes. I think it's been done before and after, but I think this film is a fascinating study of how to shoot a film in one shot, and it's amazing stuff. My runner-up, I have a runner-up, and that's Nicholas Winding Refn, who put all his money into a film called Pusher. And I think this Pusher trilogy is one of the best independent film trilogies I've ever seen, about a day in the life of a drug dealer. And then he went on, and the film finally returned enough money that he could reinvest and make a sequel, and ended up being a trilogy. These are the Pusher trilogy, highly recommended stuff. So those are my indie films. Third question, I believe, was what would I do with 25 grand from a film standpoint? I think I would either do something similar to what Fassbender did at his early films, some kind of a social commentary, low budget social commentary, trying to illustrate maybe my views of the world, similar to the way Fassbender did, in a dramatic setting, two people talking, two people interacting. Or I would go the route of maybe like a Brian Eno and film some kind of bizarre or interesting scene where it's almost like a collage of a scene. Andy Warhol, who filmed a building for 24 hours. I'm not talking about something as static as that, but something kind of similar, where you take a film and you shoot a scene, either nature, or you create a collage, and then you time caption it so that it creates some visual imagery, basically a visual imagery setting of say 20 minutes or something like that. Something bizarre, off the wall, basically, is what I'm trying to explain. Anyway, I think that's going to wrap up my submission to Toddy Walnuts, and I would highly suggest, if you haven't subscribed to Todd, you should do so. I'll put a link in my description box below to his channel, and I appreciate everybody watching. Thanks.